What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So, as you might have seen by the title, Deontay Wilder. I've received some news from my USA Dons. One of the people close to the situation contacted me earlier today and said, YB, allegedly, Wilder and Fury are due to reach a resolution for their mediation process on Monday, or by Monday, allegedly. However, me personally, the YB speaking, I haven't been able to verify this. Normally, if I come and tell you, man, something 100%, that's because I've had two independent sources confirm it, if that makes sense. At the moment, there's only one source alleging it. So I'm not going to come on it and tell you it's 100%. At the moment, it's 50-50, but nonetheless, there's a word out there. So any of you, man, who believe in there's no smoke without fire, this is for you, man. Me, personally, it's 50-50. Will it be resolved by Monday? I wouldn't put my life on it, put it that way. But I have to at least bring you, man, the news. Now, this would be great. And it would all kind of actually fall in line, because if it is done by Monday, that means that AJ and Fury is surely... There's nowhere to run for Fury. Although it could go the other way. It could go the other way. If it is done on Monday, and the ruling's really bad, I don't know, like, yes, this contract's valid, and you must fight Wilder next, then it could be kind of peak for Fury right now. Although, we also have to remember, this is a mediation process, it hasn't actually gone through the courts yet. So when we hear that the mediation is coming to a conclusion, well, mediation coming to conclusion can still be disagreement, if that makes sense. Because the conclusion could be where we haven't... Because a mediation isn't a court case. A mediation is, you're told by the courts, work it out between each other. That said, not every time can it be worked out. So if the conclusion is, we weren't able to agree, that then pushes it into the courts. At which point, Fury is of course free to fight AJ. In the meantime, you'd have thought. Unless Wilder can get some sort of embargo on Fury. But I'm not sure about... Again, you'd have to really speak to some... And this how, given how specific boxing is, God knows who's even a expert in that field. It's very niche. A boxing... You know what I'm saying? A boxing lawyer expert, Donnie. So, essentially, let's look at this from a best case and a worst case scenario. Okay, the mediation, let's assume it does happen on Monday. It's concluded on Monday, the mediation is. The best case scenario is Wilder accepts some sort of step aside or some cash payment, and that's the end of that. That's the best case scenario. For AJ and Fury fans, that is, of course, because Wilder fans would argue the opposite. Wilder fans, they want, the best case scenario for them is that they get a whole load of money for inconvenience and get to fight Fury next. That's what I'm hearing. Wilder fans are claiming, oh man, we're gonna get $400 million and a Tyson Fury fight. No word of a lie. There's Wilder fans out there who believe he's gonna get a cash payment for the inconvenience and the Fury fight immediately. It's completely delusional, cats. Best case for boxing, I believe, given the date, because you might know my opinion, I actually think Fury should have fought Wilder last year. He shouldn't have moaned about there being no fans. He should have got on with it. Just like everyone else did. McTapper did, AJ did, everyone else cracked on with it. AJ fought in Eddie Hearn's back garden. Get on with it, Fury, about no fans. There was no fans coming to watch you, man, anyway. Not being horrible, but look at... I remember exposing it. When Fury fought in Vegas against Wallin, he sold about 5,000 tickets. They weren't selling no tickets, was they selling? Yeah? So that's the end of that. You weren't doing no ticket sales anyway. But what you notice about Fury is, recently at least, he's always got some sort of excuse. Oh, we can't fight, there's no fans. Oh, we can't fight, there's no escrow, there's no guarantee. Oh, well, it's 85% this and 15% that. It's a whining looking ass, dude. How are you going to be big 6'9" looking ass and whining all the time? It doesn't become of him. But either way, that's what he does. He chooses to be a whiny looking ass right now. Either way, though, that was last year. I believe Fury should have fought Wilder last year. Now it's 2021. I still understand Wilder's grievance. I still understand that, because imagine if it was Fury, yeah? Imagine if Fury had lost his belts. Would he be happy just being told to move on? I don't think so. There'd be uproar, yeah? And this is what you have to do. You have to be fair in this game. I'm fair. I don't have no sides. And being fair, you have to remove yourself from the situation and almost look at it from the other man's point of view. Fury fans out there, I know you find it funny to punk on Wilder, but seriously, imagine, yeah, if your man had lost and Wilder didn't want to give him a rematch, how would you feel? You'd be mad. You'd be big mad. At the end of the day, there's no excuse for Fury not having done it. You signed for it as well. It's not like it's one of them ones where you say, well, YB, you know, if Wilder wanted a rematch, he should have put it in the contract. It wasn't the contract. The whole C19 thing isn't even the excuse, because Fury wasn't even using C19 as the excuse. It wasn't a case of, and that's why I think Fury's going to struggle, because it wasn't a case of, well, Fury wanted to fight, but C19 got in the way. That's not the case. You was able to fight, but financial reasons you declined, essentially. It's not like C19 is an applicable excuse, in my opinion, if it stops you having a fight at all. C19 didn't stop you having a fight. C19 stops you maximising gate revenue. That doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Not being able to maximise gate revenue doesn't excuse you from contractual obligations. If that was the case, everyone would do it. Well, you know, the sun's gone dark today, so I can't make as much money. Therefore, this contract's therefore this contract's null and void. Said no one ever. Never gonna happen. You can't pick and choose your circumstances. Now, if C19, like I said, if the government said you can't box, that's completely different. That's not what Fury's stance was. And even Fury ain't smart. His team ain't smart. If they was smart, they'd have kept their mouth shut. Instead, they was running their mouth. Oh, well, we can fight, but there's no fans. So I think even Fury's admitted as much. He can't even rely on the whole C19 thing now. He's exposed himself. So in reality, legally speaking, logically speaking, I do struggle to see how Fury's going to win. In general. But then, if Fury doesn't win, he's going to push it to a court case. Or to be fair, if either side doesn't win, it's going to a court case. There's no way, I don't believe. There's no way there's no agreement. For example, let's say there's no agreement. There's no way Wilder's just going to let that slide. No way. And there's no way, so it's going to court. I guess our best hope is that they've come to some sort of resolution. Either way. There's obviously a million different combinations and permutations of outcomes for that resolution. And any one of them is irrelevant to us as fans, to be fair. I'm looking at this from a holistic fan point of view. A global boxing fan point of view. The best outcome is they come to some agreement which allows AJ and Fury to fight. But what I'm hearing from Wilder is he'll never accept that. Which again leads to the whole implication that it's going to go to court. So then it boils down to, okay, we go to court. That's going to take another 6 months to play out. So ultimately, is Wilder, through some legal embargo or whatnot, is he able to kind of take the claim on against Fury and stop him fighting other people? Because we know, contractually speaking, when UFC fighters, or even Andre Ward wasn't able to fight for years because he had contractual obligations. Is it the same? We know there's a contract. The contract says you will fight Wilder next. That's what the old contract says. So, on that basis, Fury back then couldn't just go and... Back then, last year, Fury couldn't just go and fight some random Don without Wilder's say-so. And that's why you see Wilder and Fury, both of them, haven't fought. Because they're both tied up. That's what it's looking like to me. They're both tied up in this contract. That's why Fury wasn't... Remember, Fury was supposed to have a warm-up fight. But allegedly, possibly, Wilder kind of... You know what I'm saying? He's in that grey area. However, Bob Arum, Fish Eyes, who can tend to be biased, obviously, they're saying it... Well, he can't do anything. And to be fair to them, the way they've carried on with this AJ and Fury fight, it hasn't sounded like a big stepping block, to be fair. But then again, the fight isn't done, is it? Let's call a spade here. We just don't know. For example, if the AJ and Fury fight was done, then we could reasonably conclude that, yeah, Wilder doesn't have any claim. Wilder, legally speaking, doesn't have any power, because look, the fight's done. If Wilder had any power, the fight wouldn't be able to be done. The reason Wilder fans and Wilder himself and all the goofy narrative is able to say, oh yeah, look, Wilder controls the heavyweights, Wilder controls AJ, Wilder controls Fury. The reason they're able to say that is the fact that the fight hasn't been able to be made yet. So their argument is, yeah, of course the fight's not going to be made, because Wilder's getting in the way. Although that's not the narrative we're actually hearing officially. But until the fight's made, you just don't know what it is, do you? You just don't know anything. And given how slow and sloppy this fight's been, AJ and Fury to get on, even today, 6 months later, still not on. It certainly gives credence to these theories. These theories of, oh, it's this, it's that, oh, it's Wilder doing this in the courts. But either way, Monday, I just want some sort of update, because this has been very clandestine. This whole period of alleged mediation. I don't know what they've been talking about for 6 months. It's madness, isn't it, really? You'd think, yeah, it'd be much more efficient. Alright, guys, we're going to sit down for 48 hours, going to book a hotel room or whatever, or book a venue, and we're going to bring all our teams and sit down, and over a 2-3 day period, we're going to knock this out. That's what the court should do, because this whole email thing is a lot easier to take forever, doesn't it, emails? You go back and forth forever. Sit down, we're not leaving the table till we get done. Instead, we are where we are now. So, end of the day, listen, best case scenario is, of course, they resolve it. But it's not likely. Because a resolution would be, the only resolution I believe Wilder will accept is Fury next, which is never going to happen. Therefore, it won't be resolved. Therefore, it's going to court. So we arrive at the same thing again. The bottom line is, what can the court do? Can the court stop him fighting? Fury fighting? Now, there was a case of... It was a bit different, to be fair. It was a bit different, but that was more about belts. I think Lennox Lewis had some sort of situation with a belt, and he forced a man to drop the belt. He wasn't able to fight. So, applying that to the Fury situation, it could be Fury's forced to drop the belt. But I think that was a bit different, actually, because that was more about the belt. But, yeah, I'm not sure. Either way, this is about contractual obligations, not necessarily the belt. So, it just comes to whether Fury has a claim on... Sorry, Wilder has a claim on Fury's career. But it seems a bit far-stretched to me. Although, if you sign a fight agreement, I agree to fight this man next. If you sign that, that's a valid piece of legal tender there. You've agreed your next bout will be Fury. Your next bout will be Wilder, sorry. So, just depending on how the contract's worded, that there and it says it, all you need to know. You're fighting Wilder next. So to try and fight AJ now, it's obviously going to put you in a legal predicament, you'd have thought. But again, we don't know the specifics, despite all the inside sources and whatnot, until you've seen the actual paper. It's he said, she said. And like I told you, man, earlier at the start, to be fair with you, I'm only 50% sure that it's going to be, that we even get some news on it on Monday. Because, again, hearing it from one source, who knows? It may get announced, it may not get announced. We'll just have to wait, I guess. But for sure it would be ironic, finally, for sure would be ironic if this ends up being the thing that stops the AJ and Fury fight happening. Because of some whatever. That will just sum up the last 6 months, no doubt.